Right now, alleged conflicts of interest in the Madison School Board have been cleared up. Here, President Gloria Reyes' comments on the accusations.
And additional water bottles and so many other services, how local leaders are helping our area homeless during the heat.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now This Morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday, July 16th. And I'm doing this for Leah this morning. It's going to be hot, hot, hot.
Oh, my gosh. Josh tends to get a British accent when it gets this steamy. We all get a little harebrained.
Getting a little crazy,
when
I
it's
think.
this hot out, yes.
Wait, what kind of accent comes with the polar weather?
I don't even
Australian?
know.
I want to work on that.
Australian? What?
I don't know. You put me on the spot.
I feel like the cold weather is just the northern. Oh, it's so cold outside.
The Fargo accent.
More
Fargo.
Minnesotan.
Maybe too. Well, we're not going to be cold anytime too soon. The heat and humidity continue to build across the area. We have a live look, though, from the WISC-TV sky cam this morning. Looking pretty nice outside early today. Sun is up. Skies are mostly clear. Temperatures are still in the 70s. We've actually dropped 1 degree here in Madison down to 72. We're one of the warmer spots, though. 72 in Janesville, down to 69 in Monroe, as well as the Dells. Dew points are expected to climb today, so look at that heat index. This is what it will feel like. It'll feel like it's in the 90s to right around 100 through the afternoon into the evening. So be prepared. It's going to be a little bit warmer today than it was yesterday. Here's a look at your first alert traffic. There still is a road closure on Highway 136 just west of Baraboo. Be aware of that. The road is closed in both directions, so you'll have to find a different route if that is on your morning commute. A little bit of cleanup work on the Beltline near Old Sauk Road, but no delays showing up just yet. Just a few brake lights at Stoughton Road. No other issues to report around southern Wisconsin.
So I was trying to come up with an accent for the polar vortex. So I was thinking Antarctica, and I guess the most common accent there is Russian. So if you can do a Russian accent.
We'll
I don't
work
think I
on
can
that.
pull off the Russian accent.
We have a few months to work on that.
We do have
I'm
a
sticking
few
on
months.
Australia. Crikey.
Oh, and the laying down under? That was kind of a Minnesota.
Minnesota in Australia?
Minnesota in
I'm not really
Australia?
sure what's happening
I
there.
can't.
We're losing it with this.
I
heat.
fail.
Bear with us.
I give
Thank
up.
you
It's
very
only
much,
Tuesday.
Hattie.
Timer now is 6:02. We'll get to more on that heat in just a minute. But first, into the Channel 3000 Alert Center this morning, a stretch of Highway 136 in Sauk County is closed in both directions right now. The DOT says Highway 136 is closed between County Road DD and County Road I. That's the stretch between Rock Springs and North Freedom. Sauk County Dispatch says the road is closed for an incident in the area, but is not releasing information on what that incident is. Drivers are being encouraged to find a different route for the next couple of hours.
6:02 your time now. Heat is the #1 weather-related killer in our state.
Local leaders are now working together to prevent this heat wave from becoming deadly. Keely Arthur joins us live downtown at the Beacon to explain. Keely, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, we are talking about the areas most vulnerable when it comes to the heat, and that is the homeless. Just announcing today, the shelters have issued what is called a weather exception, meaning that the number of people allowed to stay in the shelter is basically anyone, even if they've already reached the number of days they could normally stay. And to explain that a little bit more is Joel Gerard. He is with the Beacon. Good morning, Joel. And explain what kind of changes you're making because of all the heat.
So both the men's and the women's shelters are allowed 90 days for the guests. Because there's a heat exception, both the men's and the women's shelters will be open to anyone, even if they're past their 90 days. So they'll have a safe place and a cool place to be at night.
I understand last night you already had a situation where you weren't able to fit everybody in the beds. How did you handle that?
Correct. So Friends of State Street Family is an organization that helps and kind of goes and works with Project Babies. So last night there were several families that there was just not room to house. So Friends of State Street Family raised some funds and were able to put those families in hotels so they would still not be on the street. And we expect that probably to continue because there are a lot of families and singles, so there may be an ongoing need for that down the road as well, and we'll hopefully be able to meet that.
What is the reaction of those people when you can tell them, you know what, we don't have enough beds here, but we're going to figure this out?
It's pretty amazing. You know, we close at 5 and then our guests go over to the shelters. But, you know, the guests wait, and sometimes if they can't get in the shelter at night, they'll wait here till like 5:01 or right before we close so they can stay cool as long as possible. So it's pretty amazing, and they're very appreciative when we can say, you have a place to be tonight. You don't have to be in your car.
And people don't just have to stay at the Beacon all day. You said that the Goodman Community Center is allowing homeless families to use their pool.
Correct. We applied for a grant and received it, and they gave us free passes for our families and kids. So they're able to hop on a Madison Metro bus and go over there and swim for the day and then come back and go to the shelter at night.
That's great. That's why it's so wonderful to live in this community. So many resources. Thank you so much, Joel, for speaking with us this morning. And I also spoke with Dane County Emergency Management. They wanted to give you a few tips. Basically, anyone, not just the homeless. Of course, you need to stay very cool today. Take a cold shower. Try not to skimp on the air conditioning. I know it can be a little costly. Also, drink 2 to 4 cups of water, especially if you're exercising outside. And there are plenty of air-conditioned spaces like libraries and malls to use. Of course, if you don't know what to do and you're starting to get a little nervous, you can always call United Way 211, and they'll get you more resources and the help that you need. Also speaking with Madison city officials today, asking them if they're adding any additional cooling centers. They say they are not doing that just yet, but of course we'll bring you updates on that. Back to you.
Keely Arthur live for us this morning, helping us out, staying cool. Thanks, Keely.
New this morning, the president of Madison School Board is no longer facing conflict of interest concerns from her colleagues. The State Journal reports members unanimously agreed that President Gloria Reyes's vote in favor of a new contract for police officers in schools was not influenced by her employment with the city. An ethics complaint made that accusation since Reyes had been a deputy mayor for Madison. Now, Reyes was not at last night's meeting, but she did issue a statement calling the complaint frivolous with no basis in fact. She says she hopes the board can move forward, adding her intention is only to improve public schools for all children.
More local news now. Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway says she's had enough. She's talking about an uptick in crime police say they're seeing lately. The latest case of shooting on State Street just last week. Rhodes Conway told the State Journal she wants to remove seating areas and add more street lighting, along with increasing police efforts in problem areas across the city. Alder Mike Verveer is teaming up with the mayor and says these steps are unfortunate but necessary.
I don't take any pleasure, for example, in removing seating for the public and removing benches in these hot spots, but I'm afraid to discourage the really massive loitering and the behavioral issues that are attached to that. We do have to take somewhat drastic actions.
While these moves are meant to help, officials acknowledge that they aren't long-term solutions and that other steps need to be taken to get to the root of these issues without infringing on the homeless community on State Street.
We are learning more about the father who died in the Wisconsin River this weekend. 53-year-old Koo Her was an instructor at Madison College for almost 30 years. He died Saturday, swimming out on the Wisconsin to save his 3 children who swam out too far. Her was a leader in Madison's Hmong community and a mentor to dozens of students over his 29 years with Madison College.
He's the kind of person that came to work every day excited about the work that he did and truly committed to what was most important, that's meeting student needs.
The family has set up a memorial fund for Her's children while they plan for funeral services scheduled for this weekend. This is the 3rd drowning in our area in just a month and a half. A 14-year-old girl died when her canoe capsized in the Yahara River, and an 11-year-old boy was pulled under in the Wisconsin.
6:08 is your time this morning. A former Town of Madison paramedic is accused of sexually assaulting a patient in the back of an ambulance. 36-year-old Timothy Ovadl is now facing felony sexual assault. Court documents claim he exposed himself and groped a woman being taken from a Janesville hospital to a Stoughton hospital in May. The criminal complaint says DNA evidence supports the victim's claims. Ovadl was a volunteer for the Town of Madison Fire Department for 13 years before resigning 2 years ago. Chief David Bloom says learning about the allegations was tough, but he'll try to use it as a learning experience with his crew.
I would hope that everybody would still understand the need for good paramedics out there in the field that are taking good care of our patients and don't let this one incident cloud the horizon.
Ovadl is due back in court next month. He's being ordered to stay away from healthcare work and the victim.
Members of the National Guard here in Wisconsin are practicing responses to weather-related emergencies this week. Whether it's floods, tornadoes, or any other kind of storm damage, we know all too well here in southern Wisconsin that a quick response can make all of the difference in the aftermath of a disaster. The Patriot North exercises help the National Guard practice with civilian emergency management departments. This week, they'll be practicing responses to a strong storm that collapses a building, mass casualties, and a search and rescue operation. Those are taking place at Volk Field and over at Fort McCoy.
The Spring Green community is continuing its conversation about a proposed beagle kennel meant to breed the dogs for medical research. A forum last night included the American Medical Society, community members, and officials focused on the role of testing on animals in health research. We weren't allowed to bring cameras inside, but outside we heard from people both for and against this idea.
We know that so many things can be done in regards to research, whether it comes to DNA typing and stem cell research, DNA on chips. There's so many more alternatives that are showing better results.
I also have a soft spot in my heart for cardiac research because I lost my dad when he was age 50, and I support that kind of research.
Last week, the town of Spring Green rescinded its recommendation of approval for the facility. Another meeting will be held tomorrow talking about the Pearl Road permit request. That meeting starts at 7:30 at the Spring Green Community Library.
All right, 6:11 your time now on this Tuesday. We are celebrating a giant leap for mankind this morning. Just ahead, more on the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11's liftoff to the moon.
But first, from the moon to the sun, southern Wisconsin is on the heat wave. Get the latest on the scorching alert week forecast from Hattie when News 3 Now This Morning continues.
Good morning from the Hattie-O Patio on this Tuesday morning. Another mild and somewhat muggy start to the day, but it's only going to get worse as we go through the week. Alert days are still in the forecast for today through Sunday. It's looking like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday will be the hottest period within this heat wave. Temperatures will be getting into the mid-90s those days with heat index values well into the triple digits. So again, those will be the worst days. The National Weather Service in La Crosse has already issued an excessive heat watch for southwestern Wisconsin starting at noon on Thursday, going through 7 p.m. on Saturday. And again, the heat just continues to build across the area. Heat is the #1 weather-related killer, so nothing to mess around with when we're talking heat index values above 100. Now, over the last several hours, there has been some rain through central Wisconsin, but watch how that rain just falls apart overnight as it tries to push into southern Wisconsin. So parts of our northern and northwestern viewing area may have received just a little bit of rain overnight, but right now things are looking pretty dry. That rain that you see moving up towards Chicago is actually the remnants of what once was tropical or Hurricane Barry. Some of those showers may move into southeastern Wisconsin today, but our risk for severe weather is pretty low, with mainly dry weather expected. That marginal risk does get into far western Wisconsin, though, today. Here's a live look from the Queen Bee Radio Skycam in Platteville. Orange and yellows in the sky this morning. Sun is up. Temperatures are quite mild. Platteville is 67. Pretty comfortable there. Most other locations are still in the 70s this morning. Dew points are in the mid-60s in most spots early today, but I do expect those numbers to climb. Heading into this afternoon, dew points will reach the mid-70s for a couple of hours. That'll make it feel pretty uncomfortable around here. Our heat index is expected to be a little bit higher than it was yesterday, up near 100 this afternoon. Here's a look at your future track forecast model. Again, a few clouds from time to time, but generally partly sunny skies today. This is one of those days where you might wish for a few more clouds to help with that heat. Again, a few showers possible in far southeastern Wisconsin. That'll be the remnants of Barry. Before the rest of us, a dry forecast. Highs will be right around 90 this afternoon. Again, some rain possible to the north tonight, but it will likely fall apart as it works its way into southern Wisconsin. We're staying pretty mild during the overnight hours. No relief from the heat and humidity overnight. Daytime highs will climb as well into the mid-90s on Thursday and Friday. Our next best chance for rain across the entire area will be overnight Wednesday into early Thursday morning. It's time to get a look at those traffic maps, though, this morning. We'll send it over to Josh Tim for all the details.
Yeah, good morning. No delays showing up so far on the Beltline. Things are moving well for the early commuters. Other roads here in Dane County not looking too bad either. Just some of the usual brake lights once again on Brown Road and Stoughton Road approaching the Beltline. No delays downtown around the Capitol Square and UW campus. Things are getting busier over the next hour or so. And other main routes, including the interstate, they're moving along at the usual speeds with no major crashes or delays. For your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thank you very much, Josh, and thank you, Hattie. Today we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the liftoff that led to man's first walk on the moon. On July 16th of 1969, Apollo 11 lifted off from Florida, launching the entire space exploration program with it. 4 days later, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin successfully landed, planting the American flag on the lunar surface and thrilling the world who watched back home.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Love that old video there. From launch to return, the entire Apollo 11 mission lasted 8 days. But before the flight to space could happen, scientists and engineers here on Earth had to figure out how to achieve the impossible. The so-called Apollo effect also later led to a surge of interest in engineering and in space.
Things may soon get a little spicy up in space. NASA scientists are working to send the Espanola chili pepper to the International Space Station. This would be the first fruiting plant the U.S. harvested there. The space agency wants to send astronauts to Mars, so they need to send food with plenty of nutrients. Scientists believe the pepper can be pollinated easily and thrive in a high carbon dioxide environment. Chili peppers, which are packed with plenty of vitamins, will also help astronauts stay healthy while in space. NASA has already grown some foods in space, including varieties of lettuce, red Russian kale, and Mizuna mustard.
Why a pepper?
I don't know.
There's nothing else that can grow in that particular, like a nice apple, perhaps.
Of all things,
or a
pepper.
Carrot. Spicy. Ugh.
Look at you.
Ugh. Getting hot.
Yeah,
just
I know. I
thinking
can't
about
do that.
6:19 your time now. St. Norbert's College is preparing to host the Packers at their upcoming training camp, but those dorm room beds you might imagine aren't going to cut it for some players. We'll show you the solution next.
And be prepared to ride the heat wave through today and the rest of this week. Patty's updating her alert day forecast. Keep watching News 3 Now this morning. .622 on a Tuesday morning, and here we go again.
I know. Another day, same weather story, really. Yep. The heat is building. Here's the polar bear pool. Not utilizing the pool right now, but I'm sure the polar bear will be in it later on today.
I would jump in right now.
It looks a little dirty on the bottom, Josh.
Who cares? It is hot enough now.
Maybe that's why.
We're desperate at this point.
It is a little dirty.
A little dirty. It's okay. It happens. I'm sure the pool will be a popular place, though, later on today. Those neighborhood pools will be busy. Heat bulletins, well, there are some in effect. This is an excessive heat watch that will go into effect later on Thursday, noon Thursday through 7 p.m. on Saturday. We may see more counties added to that watch over the coming days. We're zoning in on Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the time frame with the highest heat index values for southern Wisconsin. Temperatures this morning are in the 60s and 70s. Watertown is now down to 69. Juneau's at 68 this morning. We're still at 72 here in Madison. Platteville, one of the more comfortable spots in the area, at 67 degrees. Dew points today are in the 60s right now, but they'll be climbing into the 70s this afternoon. That means it's going to get pretty sticky outside. Right now, the comfort meter is at uncomfortable, but we're trending towards tropical later on this afternoon with those dew points getting into the 70s. Your future track heat index forecast, this is what it feels like at 11 o'clock. Already feeling like it's around 90 here in Madison. It only gets warmer from there as we head towards the noon hour, mid-90s in most locations. And then this afternoon, we're likely to see heat index values close to 100 in many spots. It's going to be a pretty slow cool down through the evening as well at 10 o'clock. Still feeling like it's in the mid-80s across southern Wisconsin.
Time now, an update to the breaking news into the Channel 3000 Alert Center this morning. Highway 136 between Rock Springs and North Freedom is back open after it was shut down for a couple of hours due to an undisclosed incident. Sauk County Dispatch is not releasing information about that incident at this time, but the DOT says the highway is no longer blocked off. It had been closed for about 2 hours this morning.
Bad news, Brewers fans, once again as the team's rough stretch continues. The Brewers lost to the Atlanta Braves last night 4-2. The big blow came in the 4th inning when Atlanta's Freddie Freeman hit a 3-run home run. Milwaukee has now lost 5 of their last 6 games and 8 of their last 10. They've slipped into 3rd place in the NL Central, but they're still only a half game back in the wild card race. They face the Braves tonight at 7:10.
Forward Madison FC has been filling Breeze Stevens Field all season long, and tonight it's another sellout as the Flamingos play the Mexican soccer team Leones Negros. The team has Mexican star Omar Bravo, who's the all-time leading scorer for Guadalajara with 132 career goals. That game starts at 7 tonight at Breeze Stevens Field.
The Green Bay Packers profit is down 97.9% this past fiscal year. WPR says the Packers reported $724,000 in profit compared to $34.1 million in 2018. This comes as expenses rise along with the team's 2nd straight season without a playoff appearance and a change in head coach from Mike McCarthy to Matt LaFleur.
Still, we are looking ahead to a new season. St. Norbert College is getting ready to host the Packers for training camp. At Victor McCormick Hall, workers are moving out the student beds and bringing in specially fitted ones for the players. As you probably guessed, those beds are a little bit bigger and wider than a normal bed. The entire Packers squad will stay at the dorm for the whole 3-week training camp. Packers rookies will move in on July 21st, and the rest of the team will do so on the 23rd.
So I was actually a fan of the dorm beds. I don't know about you.
What?
I liked the dorm bed.
No one likes a dorm bed. They're tiny even for us regular-sized humans.
Yeah, but they're like extra long, though. Like I felt like my feet were hanging off the end of it.
I think I would enjoy one of these massive beds.
I think so, too. I mean, if they like them, if the Packers like them, they've got to be good,
good
right?
Good enough for a Packer, they're good enough for me. All right, still ahead, we've got the top 3 things you need to know to start your Tuesday morning.
Plus, more than 40,000 veterans struggle with being homeless. How a Wisconsin group is working to bring that number down when News 3 Now This Morning returns.
It would
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for staying with us on this Tuesday, July 16th. And I'm still very, very warm.
We are out of things to use, words to describe the forecast today, Hattie, because it's that hot out.
We're in trouble. We have today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have like 7 more days.
Oh my gosh.
Just a couple more alert days in the forecast, folks. We can get through that. But first, let's talk about the top 3 things you should know this morning. Today, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of liftoff for Apollo 11, the spacecraft carrying American astronauts to the moon for the first time. In Florida on July 16th of 1969, that liftoff launched the entire space exploration program. 4 days later, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin successfully landed, planting the American flag on the lunar surface and thrilling the world who watched back home.
To our second story of the morning, right now, family planning clinics funded by taxpayers are required to stop referring women for abortions. The Trump administration says the Health and Human Services Department will be enforcing the ban. Religious conservatives are also showing support for the measure, while medical organizations and women's rights groups are denouncing it.
And the third story this morning, President Trump is doubling down on his criticism of a group of congressional Democrats who are all women of color. Nearly every Democrat has weighed in on the president's remarks, but few Republicans have so far. The House of Representatives has prepared a resolution condemning those remarks. A vote on it could come as soon as today.
All right, those are the 3 things you need to know today. Now, Hattie's here with your weather and traffic update. Good morning, Hads.
Good morning, Josh and Leah. I hope you've stocked up on those cold weather treats, ice cream, freezies, because you'll need them over the coming days as temperatures climb into the 90s. A little bit of cloud cover that you can see on the Queen Bee Radio Skycam shots. We're seeing some of those clouds here in Madison right now. Temperatures, though, are pretty mild. 72 in the capital city, 71 in Prairie du Chien, 70 in Mineral Point, and 72 in Janesville. As you head out the door this morning, plan on a pretty quick warm-up. Temperatures climbing through the 70s, back into the 80s by lunchtime, headed to highs right near 90 degrees. But it's going to feel more like 100 as we head towards the afternoon. Now look at those first alert traffic maps this morning. Still showing a little recovery work on the Beltline. This is near Old Sauk Road. No delays there though right now. No major delays starting to show up either right around Stoughton Road. So travel's still looking pretty good at this hour. You're going at posted speeds if you are headed into Madison from the surrounding communities. And that's your first alert traffic.
Thank you very much, Hattie. All right, with that dangerous heat wave setting in, local leaders are taking measures to protect residents.
Yeah, Keely Arthur is live at the Beacon in downtown Madison to talk about some of the most vulnerable populations affected by this heat. Good morning, Keely.
Good morning. Yes, that's right. We are at the Beacon. This is the city's only homeless day center. And in just an hour and a half, these doors are going to open up, allowing 200 people to come in and cool off. Now, all of our area shelters have issued something called a weather exception because of this heat. And here to explain that a little bit more is Joel Gerard of the Beacon. Good morning, Joel. And
Good morning.
What does that mean?
So the women's shelter and the men's shelter have a 90-day policy. So the families or the single men in different shelters are allowed 90 days. When that time expires, it's hopes that they will find housing or employment or something along those lines. But if they do not, then they're not able to use the shelter facilities unless there's the heat exception night, which both shelters have done. So if our guests are out of nights, they'll still be allowed to go to the shelters and get out of the heat at night.
And you were already in a situation last night where you didn't have enough beds at both Porchlight and the Salvation Army. How did you handle that?
Last night, Friends of State Street Family was able to put a couple people in hotels. We're hoping with it being weather exception nights, everyone will be in the shelters, so friends won't have to pay that bill, hopefully. But hopefully everyone will be able to be in the shelter. It can be together and be cool for the night. So.
And then a lot of other programs happening during the day as well. I know that you helped educate our area homeless last week about what to do if they start to experience heat issues, medically related. And then talk a little bit about the pools and some of the food that is happening here today.
Okay, so we received a grant from the Goodwin Pool Center, so we're allowed to have our families and our singles and our little kiddos go to the pool for the day, and we'll provide bus passes to get them to the pools. We also have a partnership with Festival Foods, where we have kind of an allotted amount every day to spend, and they provide us with fresh foods and fruits and vegetables. So our guests will have lots of fruit as well. And then we have the River Food Pantry dropping off water as well. So we have a lot of partnerships to try and make it as comfortable for our guests as possible.
All right. Thank you, Joel. So many great services happening both day and night. And the Dane County Emergency Management also wanted to give tips to anybody, not just the homeless. That is to stay cool. If you don't want to splurge on air conditioning, they say you can take a cold shower. Be sure to drink at least 2 to 4 cups of water every hour. You can also find air-conditioned spaces like the mall or library. And if you want additional resources and help, you can always call United Way at 211. And I also spoke with the Dane County official who said it's really important to check on what he called the socially isolated, maybe an elderly neighbor or someone that you don't see out a lot. He says you don't have to like them, you just have to go check on them and make sure they're safe during this heat. Back to you.
Some important advice there. All right, Keely Arthur reporting for us this morning. Thank you, Keely.
6:36 right now. So there was a time that Doug Bradley thought Vietnam was the worst thing that happened to him, but now he sees it differently.
It changed my life. I mean, I would never be the person I am having the conversation with you that I'm having the friends and the impact that I've had, caring about the issues that I care about, if it really wasn't for that experience. So basically, I owe it everything.
Bradley came home during the height of the anti-war movement. When vets were coming home from a war they were drafted to, and it wasn't necessarily a warm welcome back. He saw a couple of men trying to fix that through the organization Vets House and wanted in, first directing vets to resources, then placing them in jobs, and later becoming the nationwide model for organizations like theirs.
We decided that another generation of veterans was not going to have to put up with what we did. It just wasn't fair to them. You could disagree with the war. You could disagree with Vietnam or Iraq or Afghanistan or Yemen, wherever you are. But, you know, don't put the burden on the veteran.
The Vets House celebrated its 45th anniversary over the weekend. The founding members were surprised with a commendation from Governor Tony Evers in Wapaka.
As Prime Day continues this morning, Amazon employees continue to advocate for better pay and working conditions. Workers held signs and chanted as they walked out of a Minnesota fulfillment center on Monday. Even a small group of tech employees traveled all the way from Seattle to join the protest. It was part of employees' continued push for corporate to give them safe and reliable jobs and increase opportunities for advancement.
6:37 this morning. If you're tired of going to the park and having to leave your dog at home, change could be on the way.
Oh yeah, meetings for Madison residents to talk about letting dogs in parks start today. We'll talk about that when News 3 Now This Morning returns. Welcome back. We always ask you to share your morning with us. Per usual, I found one from Southwest Wisconsin. Jolene Bumkamp sent in this beautiful shot of Muscadet, which happens to be about 10 minutes away from Highland.
Oh my gosh, that's a spectacular shot.
See, it's not subjective. I'm sorry. The best sunrises do come from Southwest Wisconsin.
I think all of the sunrises in southern Wisconsin are good.
That's fair. Thanks so much for sharing, Jolene. We love this photo.
If you've got a photo of your morning you'd like to share with us, just take a picture and post it to the Channel 3000 social media pages. Use the hashtag MyNews3Morning so Lee and I can pick out our favorites and air them right here on the show. If you have a four-legged friend at home, you know there aren't a lot of places for your dog to get out and run around in the city.
But that could soon be changing. That's because the city of Madison is looking at allowing dogs in more city parks. They've set up a series of meetings to hear from the public on possibly changing city ordinance to make that happen. They want to hear from both dog owners and people without pets to get their input. The first of those meetings is tonight at the Warner Park Community Recreation Center. That's running from 6:30 until 7:30. You can find this information over on our website. That's channel3000.com.
All right, still ahead for us this morning. We have the morning sprint, and also we're keeping an eye of that on that forecast. You'll want to make sure that the dogs have plenty of water heading outside. Heat advisories are going into effect today for several counties in southern Wisconsin as our extended heat wave continues. Hattie will have all of those details coming up.
But first, if you have a little kiddo turning 3 soon, let us know so we can share their picture on TV. Thanks for watching News 3 Now this morning.
Look at
Live look at 6:45 this Tuesday morning. If you've stepped outside, yep, still hot, still humid for a while.
Oofta. That's going to be my response from now on. Oofta.
The whole week. Oofta, Hattie. What is going on out there?
And just let it play for the rest of the week.
Yes.
Because that about sums up the forecast. We have hot and humid conditions. Here's a picture from the Edgewater Skycam out over the lake. I imagine that the lake will be a very busy place later on today and even heading into the upcoming weekend. Take a look at the alert day graphic. There are alert days in effect for today through Sunday for all of southern Wisconsin. Now it's looking like Thursday, Friday, Saturday will be the warmest time frame. High temperatures getting into the mid-90s with heat index values well into the triple digits during the afternoon. So the most dangerous days Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Today though still is going to be hot with that heat index flirting with 100 later on this afternoon. Now I'm not a doctor, but here are some of the signs of heat exhaustion. Keep these in mind. If you start to feel dizzy or have excessive sweating, maybe some muscle cramps, a rapid weak pulse, that means your body is getting too warm. You take it easy, take some breaks, and cool yourself down. Now, heat stroke is a life-threatening condition, and these are some of the signs of heat stroke: high body temperature, red hot, dry skin, throbbing headache, a racing heart, and a strong pulse. Those are signs that you need to call 911 immediately and get that person to a cooler spot. Keep those signs in mind over the coming days as the hot weather continues. Jet stream tracks still to our north, so much of the country is going to be heating up over the coming days. Here are the remnants of Hurricane Barry. You can still see some moisture on the map. No wind threat anymore from this storm, but still a rainmaker. Some of those showers getting close to the Chicago area this morning, and they may lift northward through the day, just clipping southeastern Wisconsin. Some of that tropical moisture headed into parts of the Badger State. Here in south central and southwestern Wisconsin, not expecting any of that moisture. In fact, we have a dry forecast in Madison, but wet as you look to the south and to the east. Temperatures heating up along the eastern seaboard as well. 94 in Washington, D.C. Atlanta tops at 95. Not much warmer than we are here in Madison. Highs will reach close to 90 today as well. Temperatures are starting in the 60s and 70s, 65 in Wausau, 69 in Des Moines, right around 72 here in Madison. St. Louis is in the mid-70s already, as is Indianapolis, so really not cooling down much overnight. Down to the south, dew points are in the 70s, and some of this real moist air is going to be moving into southern Wisconsin thanks to a southerly wind today. So here's a look at your future track forecast model. We're looking at partly sunny skies, a light south wind today. Temperatures will be very quick to warm up. Already in the mid-80s by lunchtime, heading to highs pretty close to 90 degrees. Again, dry for south central Wisconsin. Here's some of those pop-up showers that may reach the southeastern corner of the state. Now this evening, chances for rain again across central Wisconsin, but just like last night, those showers and thunderstorms will likely fall apart as they head into southern Wisconsin. So here's a look at that extended forecast. Many alert days to deal with still through Sunday. Thursday and Friday, highs right around 94 degrees. Heat index values, again, well into the triple digits. Our best chance for rain across all of southern Wisconsin is overnight Wednesday into early Thursday. Oh no, Mongo in Sun Prairie did not want to have extra layers on.
Bazinga!
Today. I know, did you
is that
see
what
that?
is? That's what the weather.
Yeah.
He looks like the Hulk. Oh boy, buddy.
Tolerating that outfit pretty well, I think.
We'll be watching WWE in the air conditioning, hopefully, today.
I think so.
Thank you, Annie.
You're welcome.
The morning sprint is up next, but first, Anthony Mason has a look at what's ahead at the top of the hour. Hi, Anthony.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS this morning, Tony DeCopo leads our coverage from the Kennedy Space Center as we celebrate 50 years since Apollo 11's historic launch. We'll retrace some of the steps the crew took the morning of the historic mission, plus hear from 2 astronauts currently on the International Space Station and the plans to take humans back to the moon. And only on CBS this morning, rapper Meek Mill fights to clear his name. He tells Gail how he wants to change the criminal justice system. We'll see at 7.
The Coon
6:53, time for the morning sprint to get you out the door with the most local news to start your Tuesday.
We begin this morning with an update on the Madison School Board, as the president of the school board is now being cleared of an ethics complaint. The State Journal reports board members unanimously agreed that President Gloria Reyes's vote in favor of a new contract for police officers in schools was not influenced by her employment with the city. Reyes wasn't at last night's meeting, but did release a statement calling the ethics complaint baseless, saying she's looking forward to getting to work.
A former Town of Madison paramedic is accused of sexually assaulting a patient in the back of an ambulance. Court documents claim 26-year-old Timothy Ovidal exposed himself and groped a woman being taken from a Janesville hospital to a Stoughton hospital back in May. The criminal complaint says DNA evidence supports the victim's claims. Ovidal now faces felony sexual assault charges.
Madison Mayor Sati Rhodes Conway says she's had enough on the crime of State Street. Rhodes Conway told the State Journal she wants to remove seating areas and add more street lighting and increase police efforts in problem areas across the city. Alder Mike Verveer is teaming up with the mayor and says these steps are unfortunate but necessary.
The city of Madison is looking at allowing dogs in more city parks. They've set up a series of meetings to hear from the public on possibly changing city ordinance to make that happen. They want to hear from both dog owners and people without pets to get their input. The first of those meetings is tonight at Warner Park from 6:30 until 7:30.
A former Wisconsin dairy princess convicted of killing her ex-boyfriend's fiance will be released from a Racine County prison today. The Wisconsin Parole Commission granted a release of the now 50-year-old Lori Esker. She was convicted in 1990 of first-degree intentional homicide in the death of Lisa Chaskey. Chaskey was strangled with a belt in a motel parking lot 30 years ago.
As you step out the door this morning, temperatures are right around 70 degrees across southern Wisconsin, so a mild start to the day. Temps and dew points climb today. What does that mean for the heat index? It'll feel like it's in the 90s starting at lunchtime today, feeling like near 100 degrees later on this afternoon.
We are live at the Beacon, which is the city's only homeless day center. And in just an hour, these doors are going to open, allowing more than 200 people to come in and cool off. Now, all local shelters issuing something called a weather exception. That means from now until July 22nd, they are not going to turn anyone away. The Beacon also issuing vouchers for any homeless families to use the Goodman Pool and giving additional water today. Now, even if you aren't homeless, it's so important to stay cool and hydrated. And be sure to check on any elderly or reclusive neighbors to make sure they're staying safe too. For extra resources, you can always dial United Way at 211.
Keely, thank you. The House of Representatives could vote on a resolution condemning recent comments by President Trump as early as today. Meanwhile, the president is doubling down on his criticism of a group of 4 congressional Democrats who are women of color. Nearly every Democrat has weighed in on the president's remarks, but few Republicans have so far.
Family planning clinics funded by taxpayers are being required to immediately stop referring women for abortions. The Trump administration says the Health and Human Services Department will be enforcing that ban. Religious conservatives are showing support for the measure, while medical organizations and women's rights groups are denouncing it.
Breaking into the Channel 3000 Alert Center, Highway 136 between Rock Springs and North Freedom is back open this morning after it was shut down for hours due to an incident. Sauk County Sheriff's Office deputies report that Bradley Lewandowski fired a gun during an argument at a house on East Broadway in Rock Springs. Members of the emergency response team were able to take Lewandowski into custody without incident. The DOT says the highway is no longer blocked off after it was closed for around 2 hours.
6:57, here's Josh Tim with a final look at your first alert traffic. Hi, Josh.
Morning, guys. Westbound side of the Beltline is getting busier between Stoughton Road and West Broadway. It's going to add a couple minutes to your drive. Inbound side of John Nolan, you're also starting to pick up between Rimrock and Olin Avenue as you head into the downtown area. Give yourself a couple extra minutes on Verona Road, north and southbound, and other main routes leading into the city. They're moving along at the usual speeds with no major crashes or delays. Your first alert traffic, I'm Josh Tim.
Thanks, Josh.
And here's a live look from the Edgewater Sky Cam. A little bit of cloud cover here in Madison right now, but we do have partly sunny skies in our forecast today. Temperatures will warm quickly to near 90 degrees this afternoon.
Stay cool, folks. Have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
The summer